Hi everyone, and welcome to Religion, where we get real with religion. This is Pop Culture with Sal. So sorry for last week. I missed my week. I'm so sorry. I had a good reason, and that reason was life. Anyway, so excited to actually do an episode again. Sorry. So episode two. I'm so excited to do an episode again. This episode I'm going to touch on Western media and how it presents indigenous and non monotheistic religions. Because I think that's something that we don't touch about, like that we don't touch about enough as a society, is that like when people talk about religion for some reason, like the main Western mind and like the way that Western mindset that's kind of been like globalized is that when we say religion, we think Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. That's kind of what people think of when we say religion, except if you are from another religion. And even then, it's called like spirituality and yada yada yada. It's very much separated. When I think that's something that like no, it's still a religion, even if it's not the way people see it. It's still a religion. So yeah, so what I'm going to talk about is like and it's like a lot of movies just that's the point. Like see non-Western religions, not religion, no religion is really Western, non-monotheistic religions as kind of like spirituality and witchcraft and voodoo and yada yada yada. And yes, those are parts of some of those religions, but that's not all they are. And reducing them to that kind of gives them like a magical, it's not real, it's whatever, it's yada yada, it's ridiculous kind of aspect. Um, so, for example, if we take like, and we see that in a lot of movies, like so many movies, like Indiana Jones, so, so many movies, every kind of like action movie that you see at that point, like Indiana Jones, The Mummy, whatever. Every time we touch on like religion or something that's not like mainly westernized, it kind of goes like, oh well, it's witchcraft. Oh well, it's this, and it also encourages us to like respect these religions less. In so many action movies like that, you see where like they'll go to like find this mystical ancient artifact, whatever, and then it has to be destroyed for the greater good, whatever. And they're just like, okay, let's break it. But if it was the same with like the bones of a saint or whatever, it'd be like, but like God, but also like the good of humanity. Should we see what I mean? It's kind of like it's very much ridiculized, or it's kind of all these religions and all these spiritualities in these ways are made more palatable by adapting them to white people. So something that I wanted to talk about, like it's a lot, and it's like that with a lot of movies, like uh, well, let's say Doctor Strange, and I'm a big Marvel fan. I grew up on the MCU. Like literally, I've watched every MCU movies. I love the MCU. I will rewatch that all the time. But I can also recognize like movies like Doctor Strange, where he goes to like where does he go? Does he go to like Tibet or something to like learn the ancient ways of whatever, whatever, and then and like his master is like Tilda. I forgot the actress's name, Tilda something. And yes, in the movies, like, is she supposed to be white? I don't know, but it's still like a Scottish actress playing it. You know what I mean? And then he ends up being like the master of the time stone. And careful, spoiler alert. Until then, like, and then when he kind of disappears, it's not him anymore. It's his assistant, whatever. So, but it's kind of the thing of like it's made more palatable because it's like ancient, like Asian practices, something that's been there for as long or longer than like the main three, like at least Christianity, because Christianity is 2,000 years old. That's recent, but like older than Christianity and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, well, it's magic, voodoo thingies, and it's like, no, people still practice stuff like that to this day. It is still their religion, and it's how they live their lives. And I think we need to respect that a little more, especially in the media. And it's the same with like African spirituality. Like, and that is also something where like African spirituality has been basically destroyed by colonialism. Let us be honest, a lot of African spirituality is like little statues in museums and whatever, but actual African bodies do not have that connection to their religions anymore. or like it's been erased, a lot of stuff like that. And the issue with that is that it also just people advocate for it less then, because like for example voodoo and stuff, when you see in certain movies there's like the voodoo witch or like this and that happening, like thingy, the Frog Princess. There we go. The Princess and the Frog. That. Um, Again, love that movie. I have issues with it, but still, like, it is objectively good music, good movie, good music. It's great, but still, they go to like Mama Adele, I think she's called in English, and she's doing like her little voodoo. And she's like the little voodoo witch in the like depth of the bayou, hidden in the swamps, yada yada yada. And that's kind of how voodoo's portrayed like everywhere. It's always like the like crazy old voodoo witch hidden somewhere, like Pirates of the Caribbean, Calypso. I mean, when she's still in her uniform, she's basically like Mama O'Deal as well. She's like the crazy voodoo witch in the depth of the like whatever. Why? Because there's so much more to that. Yes, voodoo is an actual real practice that people still practice to this day. It is still like it's part of people's religions. But and part of it might be like that, but that's all that's portrayed, and it's perpetuating harmful stereotypes about these religions where it's like, oh well, they'll puppet and they'll stab it and the person dies. And sorry, I can't take myself seriously, but you know what I mean. And that's kind of like if I say voodoo, that's all people think about. It's the puppet and the pin and the and yes, that's also practice, but there's so much more to voodoo. And again, it's the same with like indigenous practices. There and like indigenous religion, it's very warped and like it's warped and dramatized and kind of historified so that people don't have that same connection with it nowadays anymore. Instead, well, it was like that like 100 years ago, or like not even no, like 200, 300, 500 years ago. That's how it was, but it's not like that anymore. No one practices that anymore because people have common sense now and we're modernized, and that's not that. But like I don't think religion can be put on a timeline. In my opinion, you can never fully put religion on a timeline. Yes, certain practices are outdated and this and that. But all in all, like religion, a belief cannot just be put up to a timeline and be like, well, the timeline advanced and it faded away. No, this is a real culture, a real practice that people still believe in. And I think the Western media doesn't promote a good view of it, as in, and not that it says like, oh, it's all bad, because sometimes it doesn't, but then it's just very much like this ancient practice that's so like, whoo. And then when people encounter it in real life, in the real world, and see that these are just like normal people living their day to day life, but then just like worshiping something else or practicing like religion in a way that we're not used to, it's kind of like it's like the whole view of that person ends up warped. Even if it's like a normal person, your coworker, whatever, the moment they see or worship differently, people just kind of like lose their head. And I think it's definitely like less mainstream religions, but I think we definitely still see that as well, like Hinduism and stuff like that, where like in a lot of Western media, Hinduism is seen as like, oh well, they worship all these gods and blah blah blah. It's so many, and with the like elephant head and this and this and this, or like Buddhism and like oh they like Buddha, and it's mysticized so much that people forget that there's real intention, real faith, and real people behind it. It's not just this kind of funky, haha, crazy, magical thing that we see on our screens. No, it's a real people's practice. It's a real people's history that is often either like made a mockery of or like seen very like unseriously or just like disrespected. And that's something that I really take issues with because I think it all that's kind of what contributes to what I said earlier is that we have this very warped view on what religion is. So like when people talk about religion, they talk about the three monotheistic religions, and that's kind of like that's religion, and the rest is kind of like pushed aside. We know all of these things, all of these practices are also religions. They also feed into religions, and we need to kind of learn to separate what we see from what really is and learn better. I think learning about religions and stuff from like this TV show where it says, oh, well, we're gonna go look for this ancient artifact and there's action and guns and Nazis and pew, pew, pew. Great movies, fun to watch. Don't take it literally. Do not take it literally, because it promotes so much worse than what you'd actually think, because it does promote like this kind of mythicization of, like East Asian, South American, African, any type of non-Western religion. It mysticizes it and makes it into this like big blown out thing that like makes everyone go kind of like crazy, and the locals are kind of like, oh, the uncivilized locals believe in this and do these traditions, but actually then it turns out that it's not really that. It's just like natural causes, well, or whatever. That's often the thing as well. Like miracles are not allowed to happen unless it's in the main like Western kind of like traditions and religions. If it's like a miracle, and then it's like, oh well, not I believe in God, yada yada. But if it's something happening and it's like another God or something like that, then it'll be taken less seriously. It'll be like, oh, it's unexplainable, it's magic, but not too much. Um, or it'll kind of be played back into the propaganda at the time, which is often like Western American propaganda that's being pushed. So, or like it's made into something that's like so extreme that people just ridicule it, or like don't believe in it anymore. Like again, one of the Indiana Jones movies, but then it turns out that they were just like worshiping aliens the whole time, and then the flying saucer is like at the end of the movie and whatever. And it's like, no, don't put, especially indigenous people in the Americas, don't boil down their religion to, oh, but it was just like mystical aliens that they worshipped and then the aliens left, because that has real repercussions. People love conspiracy theories. They love to kind of overthink all of this stuff. So it's not just, oh, it's just media, it's just a movie, it's just this one movie, maybe. But if it's a trend of either ridiculizing or exaggerating or making it more palatable by inserting white people into these religions, where does it end? Where does it end? Where does it stop being just a movie and start being a campaign to continuously erase and destroy non-Western religions? Because that's something that we have to take into account. No matter how good a movie, like I said, like with the Doctor Strange movies and like MCU, I love Doctor Strange, adore Doctor Strange. Honestly, like I I love it so much. Grew up watching those movies. I used to have a crush on Doctor Strange, like all of that. But at the end of the day, I think I can see kind of the pattern that Western media installs in movies like that, where you need a white person to make it more palatable. You need a white person to go to the mountains of Tibet and like pray and meditate, and suddenly their whole life is better, and then they just go back to their world, and then they're the new like authority on it. And that's not just like action movies. You have that in everything. Like you have lifetime like kind of slice of life movies or whatever, where someone goes through something traumatic, and then, well, they need to go to somewhere else and live there, and then, oh well, now I've meditated, like eat, pray, love, and now I can go back to my old life, and I've kind of changed because blah 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 blah. But like not too much. And I think that's definitely an issue, especially like the eat, pray, love part, because that's something that's so associated with like India and like South Asian religions and stuff like that, where it's like, no, you can't just go into someone's country, into someone's home, into someone's religion, take what you need, and then just leave and never actually acknowledge or respect it the way it should be respected. Like even the way like yoga, the way yoga nowadays is mostly taught by like white women that say no, you need to be skinny and you need to be a certain way to do yoga. When like yoga in India by actual like gurus and stuff it's presented in a very different way. So, and I just think we need to be a bit more conscious of how non-monotheistic religions are portrayed in the media and not just internalize it. We need to be able to like enjoy the movies. I'm not saying don't enjoy movies, don't watch movies anymore. That's not what I'm saying. Please continue watching movies. What I'm saying is that you can't just take something and be like, yeah, definitely, that's how it is. You need to have more critical thinking. You need to analyze, is this taking this religion seriously, this practice seriously, or is it just making it into a joke? Um, so yeah, that's kind of the takeaway that I want people to have is that everything we see in the media has an agenda. It always does, like films and stuff. They want to tell a certain story, and that's the story that you see in the big lines, and that's smaller stories that I fed in through the plot. And we just need to learn to see those stories and recognize if they're good or bad for us and for other people, because it's very important to just kind of respect all of that more, respect other people's religions, even if it's something that we don't understand, that we don't resonate with, and even if it's something that doesn't make sense to us. Like, I'll use another example, which is the example of like the way Wakanda is portrayed in like the MCU. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't start hating on Black Panther and Wakanda because I love those. Like I love Black Panther and everything. But one thing that always rubs me the wrong way, like I see where the good intent was, where they're like, well, this is this African country that's like slaying and they're great and they have all of this technology and they're advanced and they don't need white people. And I was like, yes, of course. And then they have all of their spirituality as well, which like I think is heavily influenced and based on like real African spirituality. And I love like for example in like um burial scenes where they wear white, which is something that I grew up with. Like we don't wear black to funerals, you wear white. Like my grandmas, when their husbands passed away, they wore white in mourning, and I love that. But I was like, why did we need like Wakanda and this like hyper technological country, like African country, for our spirituality to be put on the big screen in a way that's recognized? Why could it not have been through another movie? You know what I mean? Like it's very much this issue of like it has to somehow fit into the Western world, and here's with technology. When we know for a fact, like people have said that like some ways of like living in Africa, especially in like the depths of the forest and stuff like that's less technologized. Some of those ways can be very good. Some houses without all of the like AC and stuff are very good isolated, whether it be in when it's cold or when it's hot. It can be so hot outside, and then when you go inside, it's good, it's cool because they know how to use the ground and stuff like that. And that also comes from like a religious aspect, like back then before even like colonialism and missionaries, where like African spirituality heavily, like very heavily, like relied, that's the word that was like relied on respecting nature, respecting the ground. And that's a thing in so many religions, whether it be like African religions, like indigenous Americas, Southeast Asian, all kind of Asian thingies, Middle Eastern, so many places. Um, Even like indigenous European before Christianity, before the rise to Christianity, there's always this idea of like worshiping the earth and caring for the earth, and that's so ridiculized in so many movies now. Where like you'll go to someone's like place like that's indigenous in a movie, and then they'll be like worshiping the earth and like talking to the earth or something like that, or they'll be like somehow handling plants in a different way and being very much like reverent to it, reverent to the earth. And it'll be ridiculized so much because well, why are you worshiping the ground? It's just ground and it's dead. And that's kind of like the people, and then it's like it's kind of ridiculized, or either it's that, and then the main character will learn that no, like we worship the earth because it is our ancient ways, and that's how it is, and we will never stray away from that. And you white people don't worship the earth, and then the main character will be like, yeah, I think we need to like work on like sustainability, whatever. But they'll still look at it from like a Western perspective instead of looking at it from like the spiritual religious perspective. And so I just think that we need to look at non monotheistic religions and kind of respect them more and see what we can learn from them instead of ridiculizing them and kind of keeping like the way the Western media presents them, which is, and yeah, just the way the Western media kind of portrays them, which is with a lot of ridicule and a lot of exaggerations and kind of making it someone's whole personality. When no, people can still have so many opinions and so many personality outside of the fact that they have this one specific religion that's not very mainstream, that's not very popular as what people are used to. So yeah, I've ranted for a while. Um, that was that was it, kind of all I had to say for this. If people want me to like redevelop on this like kind of topic, talk about another movie in particular that you guys want me to like kind of look at and what's it called, analyze, I would love to. But yeah, that was Pop Culture with Sale. It was a pleasure to have you guys. And next week is Akam's episode, so excited for that. And anyway, yeah, so please like, share, comment, follow, all of that. We always need the interaction. And bye.